this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat Hey, my name is Tristan and I'm in second grade and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Anti-Religious Scripture Study, episode 16 with Karen B. and Just Jack. And I am sorry that Streamlabs decided to start my stream not on the stream that I scheduled through Streamlabs, by the way. Whatever. Yes. So there is a new link. Sorry about that for YouTube, but we are still live on Rockfin in the correct place, and Twitch and Facebook. So, welcome everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, we made it.
Yeah, we had a couple of issues today, but thankfully we know what we're doing.
Yeah. Sorry about that, you guys.
All right.
I'll have to go into... actually, if Jack, if you want to do your disclaimer or your...
Sure. I just threw something up in chat today.
And I'm going to go into the channel and delete those other weird live streams.
Alrighty. Just Jack's disclaimer. To the religious, if you believe it's wrong to study scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture but like to dig in and discover more, then this stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words, as well as context from a non-religion perspective, as well as having life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Judaism, or Christianity. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how the religion's contradictions to Scripture. All right?
All right.
All right.
Excellent. Sorry. Just finally got to where I could hit the delete button. I'm trying to delete.
And yes, this is going to look weird. It's going to look like I'm tilting my head constantly because I have a broken ear muff. Sorry, guys. It happens. It's sad, too, because I wasn't even doing anything aggressive. It was literally while I was putting them on and it went pop. Like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Shout out to Critical Inception and Good Times for All, Michelle L., NH Guy, Grounded Extracts, Kelly F.E., Awesome Austin, Really R, Stopping Traffic in My Rasta Hat. That's an interesting name. And Brian Parker, Tactical Sovereignty. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. There you go. We'll do a little shout out. That'll buy you a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Hey, Good Times for All. Good to see you. Okay, I'm ready. I'm good to go now.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. So, where did we leave off? At Abraham's death and descendants.
Yep. And if you remember, Esau was starving to death because he hasn't eaten all day. So much so that he's willing to give up his eternal birthright.
Right.
And this is going to be important because I've known people who read what we're about to read and they didn't realize that he gave up his birthright before Yaakov allegedly stole his birthright, which is coming up here in a few. So
okay.
It's always good to have context, always. Yeah. Otherwise you can twist the words to say whatever you want.
Yeah, I learned that a long time ago, that you have to know the context of the scripture or whatever that people are quoting, because it can very easily be taken out of context.
Oh, yeah. And they'll use it to their own devices. I mean, the fact that they take scriptures out of context is a reason that tithe is being paid at church, right? So, like, they'll take a few verses out of the... By the way, the typical New Testament church thinks that the Old Testament's done away with, but yet when they talk about tithing, they have to go to the Old Testament. And so they'll take these couple of verses out of the Old Testament about tithing, and they'll say, see, you're supposed to bring it to the church, even though there's nowhere it says that. They just take a bunch of stuff out of context, put it together. There you go. All right. So, yeah, for those of you who are new to this program, if you see the titles above the verses, those do not exist in the original script. Those were added later by translators to give you their description of what you're about to read. And sometimes you'll read the headline and then you'll read it in context and you're like, well, that's not a good headline. So.
All right. God's promise to Isaac.
Yuck.
We didn't even like the word God around here.
Oh, no.
And we went through that in the very first episode.
Yep, we hit that in the very first episode. It's age 1408, 1409. God is the prosperity deity of Babylon. It's all about money. That's why on our money it says, in God we trust, because God is the prosperity deity of Babylon. Shalom, Kelly Jelly. All right. So, it's Jehovah's promise to Yitzhak. So.
Okay. All right. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food, which was in the days of Abraham. And Yitzhak went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, in Gerar.
Okay, so Gerar is correct.
Gerar.
So, just FYI, this is saying this is a different famine than the one that happened to Abraham, right? And Abraham went to Egypt when he had his famine, okay? But Abraham dealt with a dude named Abimelech, and Yitzhak's dealing with a dude now named Abimelech. Some people may not know that back in the day, lineage of kings would share the same name. So this is not the same Abimelech that Abraham was dealing with. This is a couple generations later.
Okay.
Or at least one.
Yeah. And Jehovah appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Mitzrayim. Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For I give all these lands to you and your seed, and I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father."
Right. Yeah, and that's oath as in 7, right? Oath.
"And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed."
And it's not heavens, it's Shemayim,
Shemayim,
which is the unseen existence all around us.
"Because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torah."
Right.
Torah?
Yep. Go ahead and read the
Torah
footnote. This
teaching.
is helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. So Torot is plural for
Torah.
Torah.
Okay.
And then if you think about this, like this is generations before Moses. And there are people who assume that the Torah was given to Moses. But here, Abraham, the very first dude who decided to worship Jehovah as the one and only deity, he had Torot. He had the commands of Jehovah. So it's not about, and it gets confusing here because it says, guard my commands, guard my laws, guard my charge. Aren't they all the same thing? But no, they're actually distinctive. And if you read it in the breakdown in the Hebrew, it's a little clearer. We're in verse 5. Excuse me. I may sound hoarse at some point today because I've not eaten or drinking because it is Yom HaKippurim for me. So I am fasting and self-inspection today. So if you see, there's a guard and protect of the commands of the inscribes, decrees, and the Torots. Okay? So the Torah are the teachings and the directings. The commands are specific, like you, Karen, I need you to do such and such. That's a command. Whereas everyone should do such and such, that's a Torah. You understand what I'm saying? And then an inscribed is a decree, kind of like when he makes oaths, for instance. Those are decrees. Those are promises that are made by the Creator that are forever. So in those 3 incidences, Abraham was obedient to, even though the Torah was not written down yet by Moshe, there were the Torah already given directly to Abraham and before Abraham. So, but I mean, we could look at that, but it'll come up later. We'll readdress it when it comes up later in a couple chapters here. So
okay.
I'm thinking, where's it at in the scriptures? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be there in a couple chapters. No big deal.
Okay.
Because there are people who are not even with Avram that are keeping Torah commands that you don't see listed, but we'll address that when we get there. Okay, so Yitzhak's interaction with Avimelech.
Yeah.
And Avimelech is my father is king. That's what his name means.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. And
then the first Avimelech, his father was king also.
Right. And Yitzhak dwelt in Gerar. And when the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," thinking, lest the men of the place should kill me for Rivkah, because she is good looking.
That sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham did the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So here we are, history repeating itself, so to speak.
Right.
And, Rivka's hot, and he knows how the culture is. When the culture is for Gerar, is that when you leave the city, basically it's survival of the fittest. Let's put it that way. So, like, inside the city, there's all this law and order, the way of dealing with things. But outside the city, they believed it was like a free-for-all. So
yeah,
that's why he knows how it is in that culture. And he's like, yeah, she's my sister.
Mm-hmm. And it came to be, when he had been there a long time, that Avimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, looked through a window, and he watched and saw Yitzhak playing with Rivkah, his wife.
Yeah, they were playing hide and go seek, right?
Right, playing doctor.
That's more better. Yeah, so this is that same thing that we were talking about earlier with Yitzhak and Ishmael. When Ishmael was sent away by Abraham's wife, it was because Ishmael was playing or mocking, Yitzhak. And that's what I said. Well, you can actually interpret it as he was like messing around with him in a very inappropriate manner.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the same manner. This is, he's not mad because he looks outside and they're running in the streets playing tag. they're PDA. They're doing public displays of affection. And Avimelech looks out the window and he's like, what the heck? That's his sister and he's doing that,
Mm-hmm. All right.
There you go.
So Avimelech called Yitzhak and said, "See, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister?" And Yitzhak said to him, "Because I said, lest I die on account of her." And Avimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us."
Yeah, one of our like the little ones, the little people.
And Avimelech
go ahead.
commanded all his people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death."
Yep, they shall die the death.
They shall do the death.
Yeah.
If you
look at the word prior,
mm-hmm.
It says, "Die of the death." Die of he do die.
And Yitzhak showed in that land, and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Jehovah blessed him.
Okay, so he's being prosperous in the other man's land, in Gerar.
Right. And the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. Yeah,
so if you look at verse 13 there, it's magnify, magnify, magnify.
Yeah.
Right, and when they do that, they're, whenever they repeat themselves like that, it's like you need to pay attention to this. So it's not that he was just like, he was successful. Like, no, he became like he was the bomb, right? Like, he was being magnified over everybody else by his prosperity.
And he came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants, and the Philistines envied him.
Oh, I got to point something out. So the whole thing about her being the sister, it's okay. So if you, in this culture, right, if you liked a girl, you'd have to get an approval by the family, and that includes the brothers, because the brothers are the protector of the home. So in the case where if it was his wife, they would just kill him and take her. But since it's her brother, they rather deal appropriately and like get in good with the brother so that you can have the sister. Like that's if you can try to understand the context of why can't they take her if she's the sister? And it's because of the cultural difference.
Okay. And the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and filled them with dirt.
That's not very nice.
No, so they're trying to sabotage him, obviously.
Right. Well, he tricked them, with the whole sister-wife thing, and then he's getting well off better than they are.
And Avimelech said to Yitzhak, "Go away from us, you are much mightier than we."
So even the king feels threatened about how prosperous he's getting.
So Yitzhak went from there and pitched his tent in the Wadi Gerar and dwelt there.
Yeah.
So he just leaves?
Say again?
So he just left? He's like, okay, the guy says leave, and he just says okay, and he leaves?
He's still in Gerar. Mm-hmm. But he went to the Wadi, which is if you remember, they stopped up his wells. Mm-hmm. So a Wadi is a place where water always is. Hey, Musicians for Truth, Dread, how you doing, brother? So he went to where there was water. That's all there is to it. So he, imagine you have, crops and fields and all that jazz, and people stopped up your wells. That's like a death sentence for all of your stuff. Mm-hmm. So he had to go where the water was, and this is what a wadi is. What does it say in here? Verse 17. Yeah, in the valley where the river is, right? So it's where the split of the mountains is. So this is where all the water accumulates. So it's not necessarily like there may not be water there all the time, right? It may only be when it's like really rainy and you see an actual river. And then other times, all you have to do is just dig below the surface and you'll find water. So it's where all the water like goes down into the valley. That's what this is.
Okay. And Yitzhak dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he called them by the names which his father had called them.
So he renamed the wells that they had filled of Abraham's and redug them. Yep. And recalled them by Jehovah provides, Jehovah, what was the other one? I think one is Jehovah Shalom, one of them is Jehovah Nisi. But anyway, I can't remember right now, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay.
You can go back to previous videos or go back to the scriptures yourself and look up the word well with your software, and you'll find the different wells. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. But when Yitzhak's when Yitzhak's servants,
the well of oaths, the well of sevens. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But when Yitzhak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yitzhak's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him.
Yeah, so go back up to running water. If you go to 26:19, it's actually living water.
Okay.
So it's down at the bottom there, yeah. Life's living. So this is a well that it's just going constantly, right?
Like a spring.
This is a spring. Well, I mean, all of them are springs, technically, because we're not talking about like digging, tens of feet down. We're talking about just making a trench and it filling with water. But this one is like, it's a spring, like you said. It's flowing. And then they're like, oh, it's ours. Tag.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, and Essek, just to show you, Essek, it says they called it Essek because Essek. So in the right-hand side, you see where it says Essek?
No.
Down in the verse 20, left-hand side, fourth line up,
Okay.
I think. Essek means to oppress, extort, or quarrel. And then they called it that because Essek.
Okay, so, and they said is that a person though? Because they strove with him, so that is a person though?
No. Essek is the name that he called the well.
Oh, okay.
Because if you see,
because they strove with Isaac.
Yeah, because they Esseked.
Sometimes
with Esau.
The way they write this is so confusing.
Yeah, he called the name of the well Essek because they Essek with him.
Okay.
Now that makes sense, right?
Yes.
But you can't see that because what does strove have to do with Essek? Well, Essek is a Hebrew word which means to quarrel or to oppress.
Okay. And they dug another well, and they strove over that one too, and he called its name Sitnah.
Okay, now this is an interesting word, Sitnah. If you don't mind, I'd like you to definition it. So go to HSBR. Oh, that worked. Did you just highlight it from TS and then cause it to pull up the dictionary?
I just selected it and said define.
That is amazing. You didn't even have to push the number? Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know it could do that. Now I got to see if mine could do that somehow. Anyway, so yeah, the second of two wells dug by Isaac in the valley of Gerar, the possession of which the herdsmen of the valley disputed with him. So that's like a note from Smith. So now you see the same as. You always got to go, root steep. So go ahead and go to the same as. So 7855 now. You might be able to control click it. I don't know.
Why 7? I'll just write it. 855.
Yep.
From opposition.
Okay. So.
From 7853.
Yep.
Satan. There we go.
It's Satan.
Satan. Satan?
It's Satan.
A primitive root meaning to attack, figuratively, accuse, be an adversary, or resist.
It just means opposition. Anything in opposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I was talking about earlier about, way back in one of the first couple episodes, that Satan as an individual bad guy that makes you do bad things, that's not how it's portrayed in Hebrew at all. Satan just means opposition. So we ourselves can be Satan, we can be in opposition of our true form, of our true divinity, of our true power. We can be Satan's against that. So when we're, when people are taking advantage of us because they know how to manipulate us, they're being a Satan. They're opposing us, right? And anything that's opposed to the Creator's will is considered a Satan. So if you see in this place, he says he's going to call this, he's calling the well Satan. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it because they were Sataning him. Now, Sataning, that's like a Hebrew English compound, right?
Right.
To have the ing on the end, but that's what it means. It means opposing, being in opposition of. So he called the well Satan. And again, you'll never see this in English, and people will think, there's no way that he would name a well Satan, but he did.
That's funny. All right. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called its name Rehoboth, and said, "For now Jehovah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land."
And it's Rehoboth.
Rehoboth.
And if you go down to the defining, and Rehoboth.
Let's see.
Over to the right in your commentary.
Hold on.
Gesundheit. And again. All right, so there, Rehoboth means to widen. And then it says, because now the widening of Jehovah for us, and fruitful in the rets.
Okay.
So Jehovah has Rehoboth for us. The widenings.
Why am I not getting... There it goes.
Yep, now click made room for.
Made room for?
Yep, and you'll see that it's similar without the ot on the end. Rechab.
Okay.
See, the ot makes it plural. So it's the widenings.
Okay. And from there he went up to Beersheba.
Beersheba. Yeah, Beersheba we've heard before, because when Yishmael left the camp of Abraham, and remember she stashed her teenage son in a bush and went more than a bow shot away, and she's like, I'm just gonna die, there's no water out here. And Jehovah blessed Yitzhak, and she found a well there, and Abraham named it Beersheba, because it's the well of oaths.
Okay. And Jehovah appeared to him the same night and said, I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you, and shall bless you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake.
Now, I'd like to point out here that he said to Yitzhak that your father Abraham was obedient to all my commands and Torahs and statutes. And here he's saying, for your father's sake, I'm going to bless you. So Yitzhak's not doing anything to impress Jehovah as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I'm just saying, though, even though people want to put him on a pedestal, there's nothing really great about Yitzhak. In fact, I think that he does a couple things with bad choices, but that's besides the point.
Okay. And he built a slaughter place, your favorite, slaughter place there, and called it the name of Jehovah, and he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yitzhak dug a well there.
Right, because slaughter place is it's an altar. Sometimes no animals are ever sacrificed on it. It's a pile of rocks.
Right.
A monument sometimes, and if you remember, the reason that, the dedication of these altars is to say, this is what happened with me and Jehovah. So it is like a landmark more than a slaughter place, but I digress. And not a well, it's more like a spring, but that's okay.
Okay. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar, and Ahuzat, one of his friends, and Pekol, the commander of his army.
Yep, so he's got some backup. Why has he got so much backup for one dude? Well, him being prosperous, he had a big camp.
And Yitzhak said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me and have sent me away from you? But they said, We have clearly seen that Jehovah is with you. And we said, Please let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you.
Okay, so why do they approach him? Because they see that Jehovah is with him.
Right.
Now, I've mentioned this in the past where these different nations, they recognized Jehovah as a deity, but they had mingling, right? They had multiple deities. That's what was the distinction between Abraham and the rest of them. So here we see the king saying, well, Jehovah is with you, that one who created everything, the one that who, like, if you have favor with Jehovah, you got it down. Like, everything is given to you. It's all taken care of. So now he's saying, let there be an oath between us and a covenant. A covenant is a dividing, a cutting to make an agreement. Sometimes this was done with an animal sacrifice, and then they eat the animal, a barbecue, right? If you want to call it like that, right? And so breaking bread is a very important way to establish a covenant. And remember, breaking bread can go two ways, because the tearing of the bread and the kneading of the bread is also used sometimes to describe a war. So this is a positive version of it, because this is speaking specifically of making a covenant, a contract.
Right. That you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good toward you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed by Jehovah.
Well, I think that's his side of the story. It seemed kind of like it wasn't sent away in peace. It's like, get out of here.
Yeah, right?
You're too prosperous. But what he's saying is, since we didn't attack you and take your stuff, that's what he's saying. That's his generalized statement is, we're not going to war with you, so we should make a pact. We should make sure that we're not going into war with each other at all. Mm-hmm. So it may be out of recognition that he's with Jehovah, or it may be he's tactically thinking about the future. Like, he's starting to get big, he's starting to get prosperous, he may attack me, so I better make a covenant with him right now. That's a perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right. And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank.
Yep.
And they rose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another, and Isaac let them go, and they departed from him in peace.
Yeah, it doesn't just say swore an oath with one another. It says swear an oath as a brother.
It does? Where is that?
You scrolled down too far. Right there.
Yeah.
Brother. See it?
7 oath to brother.
Yep.
Okay. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Isaac came and informed him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, we have found water.
So we got another well being dug, and another, and then more water.
So he called it Shiva. Therefore, name of the city is Beersheba to this day.
Okay, so Shiva is the same as Shabbat or Shabbat. It's that word oath, right? It's oathing. And then we have, if you remember, we had a well that was called Beersheba. He just went back to it and reclaimed it, and Jehovah blessed him. So he's calling the second well Shiva. But they built a city around the well Shiva, and they call it the city of Beersheba. So it can be confusing, because there's Beersheba the city and Beersheba the land. Beersheba the land is around the well Beersheba. Beersheba the city is around the well Sheva.
Okay.
So the land are declared by the well.
Okay.
And Be'er means watering hole. Or well. Yeah.
And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudit, the daughter of Beeri, and the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite.
Okay, so this is Esau, right? Yitzhak's son. Mm-hmm. This is the red guy, the hairy guy. Okay? Now, if you remember, Abraham was so concerned about dealing with the Hittites as far as marrying that he sent his servant back to his hometown to find a good wife for his son, Yitzhak.
Mm-hmm.
So now Esau was like, well, he's a wild man of the field, and he likes some local hot chicks, and decided to get with them.
And he also, it's the same one who gave up his birthright, right?
Yep, same guy.
And they were bitterness of spirit to Yitzhak and Rivka. They were bitterness of spirit.
They're not happy about it. And
so Yitzhak and Rivka
Ruach.
were not happy about it.
The Ruach is the action unseen existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not too good about it. It weakens them. It makes them feel bitter. But yes, we can go to 27 because I promised I would give you 2 chapters, and I did it. And let me tell you, 27 is a long, stinking chapter. So here I am, like, I haven't eaten, since probably, I don't know, 7-ish yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm awake till, all through the night. And I'm wrapping this thing up, and I'm like, how many more verses is this thing? No, it's not to say, look, I enjoy translating and I enjoy sharing it with people, but it is an effort. It is an honest effort that I'm doing to translate these things.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have a false title, Isaac blesses Jacob.
Right.
Which is actually Yitzhak and Yaakov or something, right?
Yep, Yaakov. A lighter B, so V.
V, okay.
Or more like a V, yeah.
Okay. And it came to be when Yitzhak was old and his eyes were too dim to see that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, my son, and he answered him, here I am.
Yeah, and so his eyes were dim is like it says the darkening. So it's like when you burn something and it becomes black. Mm-hmm. So his eyes are darkening.
And he said, see now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me.
All right, so let's go down to 27:3.
Okay.
Weapons is they took some freedom with that. And I'm not just talking about just the Scriptures version. King James Version did the same thing. So it's, where is it? Okay. So all of yours, let's see, weapons. So weapons is all of yours. So it's like, bring all your stuff. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same words. Like, when we were back talking about him picking his wife, Rivka, that she was given jewels, and it's the same, I translated it back then as all of the stuff, right? Because that's literally what it means. So weapons is like a choice that they put in there. Because the quiver and the bow are enough. Like, that's enough to explain who he is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Grab all your stuff, your quiver, which is your rope over your shoulder carrying the arrows, and your bow, and go out and get the hunting.
Okay.
What you looking at? Oh, yes, the definition for, see, it's complete, whole, all.
Yeah, I was showing
all
the different words. It means everything, like.
The bride makes one complete. She's your everything.
And make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die.
I like tasty dish. Let's see what the King James Version says.
Tasty
on verse
dish.
4, yeah.
Savory meat.
Yeah, so, the word meat isn't there, so that's why they put dish. That's not bad. Dish is better than meat. Because it just says the savory.
Right.
The tasty. So tasty is good.
And Rivka heard when Yitzhak spoke to Esau his son, And Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. And Rivkah spoke to Yaakov, her son, saying, See, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, Bring me wild game, and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of Jehovah before my death.
Okay, so she knows he's on his deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
He wants his last meal. And when he brings back his last meal, he's going to give him a blessing. Now, the thing is that Jehovah has already made a pact with Yitzhak, so he's already manifesting his creation power, right? That's how he became prosperous, right? He was tapped in to existence, so he knew how things work. That's why he was becoming prosperous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this thing is transferable. So he's saying, if he gives him, or she is saying, sorry, she's basically saying if he gives him this blessing, then that's it, you're out. And if you remember in previous verses, Esau is his favorite and Yaakov is her favorite.
Right? Okay, that's right.
So, and don't forget, she's also the one that got the prophetic thing from Jehovah about you have two nations struggling within you, right? They're going to be constantly fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first one out, but Yitzhak, as a baby, grabbed the heel of of his brother, which is his name, which means to resist, to back on the heel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's saying I just heard your brother's about to get the eternal blessing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at verse 8. Sorry about that. I just had to, point that out.
That's okay. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves.
Now, this is kids.
Right.
This is the true meaning of kids, so please don't call your children kids.
And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might bless you before his death.
And also, this may be another evidence that the rarity of their meat eating, right? So it's a big deal for him to eat some meat.
Mm-hmm. And Yaakov said to Rivkah, his mother, See, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to tell. So go down to verse 11.
Uh-huh.
On your middle line. I'm scrolling with my fingers, that's funny. Which is interesting.
Okay.
Don't really know how that associates. I'm trying to rack my brain to figure it out. But it's the dividing of portion. There's a relationship thing here on purpose. Because what we're talking about here is dividing the inheritance, your portion. So that's why that's why they use this word that means the same as divide of portion.
Okay. And he says, What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.
True. It's true.
But his mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me.
You shut your mouth and do as you're told.
And he went and fetched them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a tasty dish such as his father loved. And Rivkah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Yaakov, her younger son.
And we've had this word for garment before, if you remember Rivkah covering her face.
Mm-hmm.
So this is this is probably his go out to desert garb, right? So it would cover him up so that he wouldn't get sand in his nostrils and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole garb. It's a whole thing.
And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaakov.
So we're breaking bread.
Uh-huh. And he went to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" And Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might bless me."
Your life source, yeah. So, quick thing here. Is Yaakov lying, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, straight up. Does he still get blessed, yes or no? Yep.
Probably.
So, I'm just saying, though, you know, we mentioned this before about Abraham lying about, you know, whether or not it was permissible for him to do so. But here, Yaakov, knowing his, he already was promised the inheritance, and he's just getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's doing it deceptively because his father was in love with the other brother because of his desire for meat, and he liked smelling him coming back and smelling like the dirt, you know. I guess he would have liked patchouli. Ugh. But anyway. But this is, you know, this is very clear that there was no way that Yaakov was going to get the blessing that he was promised, because, you know, Yitzhak wouldn't have let it happen. Now, why was he promised this? Because his brother was, you know, give me food now, I'm starving to death. Well, would you be willing to trade your birthright? And he's like, I'm going to die from starving to death. I might as well give up my birthright so that I can live.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he gave it up. He swore an oath. But they were going to go against the oath, so Yaakov is actually the righteous man by lying to his father.
Okay.
And people are going to spiral.
But Yitzhak said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" And he said, "Because Jehovah Elohim brought it to me."
Like, dude, you just left. How did you already come back with meat so quick? Oh, Jehovah blessed me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty big lie. Pretty big lie.
And Yitzhak said to Yaakov, "Please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not."
Right. So he's like skeptical.
Right.
To say the least.
And Yaakov went near to Yitzhak and his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is of Yaakov, but the hands are of Esau." Because of the goat hide.
Yes. So he's feeling the goat fur, and he's like, "This is my hairy son Esau." Of course.
That's freaking funny.
Yep.
All right.
And the smell.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, being of dirt and of the field, you know, that's what he loved about his son. And now he's thinking, yeah, this is definitely my son. It smells like him. It feels like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" Oh, wait, did I skip a line? No, he blessed him.
No, you read that.
And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." And he said, "Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank.
Right, and that's the head wine. It's actually the same root as the word head, and this is head wine, meaning like new wine, like it's just newly fermented, hasn't had time to age or anything.
And his father Yitzhak said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and he blessed him and said, "See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Jehovah has blessed."
Yeah, and kissed him is like, they have kissed as a definition for a lot of them, but it's more rooted in a touch, including like putting your hands on someone as in going to war.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can go either way. So they say that it's a light touch as a kiss. So, I mean, I'm skeptical about kiss there.
Okay.
It may be kiss. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I'm just saying, like, just by looking at the root of it, I'm like, maybe it's kiss. I don't know. But it also, that same shock is the root of irrigate and to water. So you can associate irrigating and watering with kissing, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, so it can get interesting when you look into the roots. But that one I'm kind of like, you know, maybe it's kiss.
All right. And Elohim give you of the dew of the heavens, or Shemayim.
Very good.
Is that the right word? Yeah.
Yep.
And
the scattering dew of the Shemayim.
Of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine.
Yep.
Let peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you.
Okay, so right there, he said, be master over your brothers. So that can't be undone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he thinks that he's putting Esau in charge. But he just put Yaakov in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, he's got the backing of Jehovah. What he says is going to happen. It's going to be.
Okay.
It's his last will and testimonies.
And it came to be, as soon as Yitzhak had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had hardly left the presence of Yitzhak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting.
Bum, bum, bum.
And he too had made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me. Uh-oh.
Yep. He's like, hey, I'm here with the food. It's time to bless me.
Yeah. And his father Yitzhak said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. And then Yitzhak...
I'm sorry, I'm getting into this story.
And then Yitzhak trembled exceedingly and said, Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed.
Yeah, see, he knows, like, it's done. And he's shaking. He's literally trembling. Like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Mm-hmm. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me too, O my father.
Yeah, he's like, you know, he's a daddy's boy, right?
Right.
He's like, Daddy, don't you love me? You gotta bless me too.
And he said, Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing.
Yep, he lied.
And Esau said, Was his name then called Jacob? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright.
He's restrained me these 2 times.
Yeah. He took my birthright, and he now has taken my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me?
Yeah. And it says that he took both. If you go to 36, it says time both.
Yeah.
So he's done it both times now.
Then Yitzhak answered and said to Esau, See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
He's like, wait, there's nothing left? What about me?
So he's crying. Yeah, because he doesn't have anything now. And Yitzhak his father answered and said to him, See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of the heavens from above.
So your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, which that's already his, like, you know, it's his style. Mm-hmm. He likes to go out in the wilderness.
Right.
But here it's like, you know, he was expecting to basically take over his father's whole deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he lost that now. So now he's like, let's say second in command. That's not good enough for him. He doesn't like that at all.
And by your sword you are to live and serve your brother, and it shall be when you grow restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck.
And it could be, and by your laying waste you are to live.
And by your what?
Laying waste. So like, living in the wilderness, like it's a wasteland. So if you read it in its context, sword may not even be appropriate here. Like, why is the sword all of a sudden being taken up when it literally like is the root to lay waste, right? Because by extension, a sword lays waste, because it takes out the enemy and whatever. But it doesn't say anything about going to war, because it says serve your brother. So it's not about going to war with his brother, right? So it could say, and on the lay waste shall you live, shall you have your living. Because he just got through saying, by the fatness of the land, you're going to be basically living in the wilderness, in the wasteland.
Right. And Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near, when I'm going to kill my brother Yaakov.
Yep. And a mourning is a flowing away. And so that's what a mourning is. It's like to release your loved ones, right? To let it flow away.
And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Rivkah, and she sent and called Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, see, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you.
Yep. He's like, as soon as he's done mourning, he's coming after you.
Yeah. And now, my son, listen to my voice and rise. Flee to my brother Lavan in Haran.
Yep. Lavan in Haran, if you remember, when the servant of Abraham went to find a wife, they went to Lavan's house.
Right.
Lavan was the caretaker of Rivkah. Just like I was talking about earlier about him saying, she's my sister. Right? So in that case, the servant of Abraham had to talk to Lavan about taking Rivkah as a wife for Yitzhak.
Right.
So you can see it culturally right there. All right.
And stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away.
A few days.
Yeah,
that's just a few days.
Right.
He ends up staying with them we'll read in the next couple chapters, but he stays with them for more than a few days.
Until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him, and I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day?
And it's bereaved means childless, by the way. Because if he kills my son, my favorite son, right, I'll disown him and I'll have no children, right? That's basically the gist of this.
And Rivkah said to Yitzhak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Het. If Yaakov takes a wife from the daughters of Het, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me?
Because remember, Esau took 2 wives from Het.
Right.
So she's like, please don't get married here. While you're there, look for a wife, is what she's saying. Is that the end of it?
That's it.
I think so.
That is the end.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting in the next couple chapters again. I mean, these are all interesting, are they not?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like, you may hear bits and pieces about these stories, but when you get into the intricacies of it, it's like, man, it's like an in-depth, very descriptive, story. Like it's a very good account of what happened, how it went down, and the reactions and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see why Esau would want to kill his brother. That's obvious. But what is also shown here is she's saying he's going to get over it in a few days, right? So if he was left with nothing, how would he get over it in a few days, right? He'd be a penniless pauper and I
don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's not the case. The case is he's only second in command now, right? They still get to live in the land. They still get to enjoy. Was the righteous one and Yaakov was the wicked one in this incident, but it's actually the other way around. because Yaakov was supposed to get the blessing.
Right.
It was not only was he the favorite of his mother, but he was also the favorite of Jehovah, which we'll definitely see.
Yeah.
And it becomes more predominant in the next couple of chapters. But this is, yeah, I don't want to jump ahead. Oh my gosh, I want to say so much stuff, but I'm like, I keep stopping myself because it's like, we're going to see it in the next couple chapters.
We're like,
just wait for it, Jack.
You know, we're like just over halfway through Genesis only. It's crazy. This goes all
Genesis
the way up to 50.
Is 50 chapters. Yep. And we're at 27. But look,
28.
we did it in 16 weeks. It's not bad.
28. And that's with some short ones, too. Some of those are short ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about it, like, we're doing pretty good. 16 times 2 is 32, right?
Right.
I think. My brain is half processing because, again, been awake. been abstaining from food and water. But, man, do I feel really good right now, by the way.
That's good.
I want to share that with people. Like, I feel really good right now.
That's funny. I feel good when I fast too, actually, though. I do feel good. I actually have more energy when I fast.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the only downside is like my eyes are itchy because they're dry,
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, man, I'm loving it right now. Okay, so Shabbat Shalom to RT, Amowak, Jessica, Everest Art, Voynich, Capalicious 420, and anybody else that I missed, I'm sorry. Shabbat Shalom. I did a shout out earlier, so I thought I'd do an update. Timothy Stanley, and Christopher Fitz. That was cool to see Dredd in here, though, man. Back in the day when I first got into Flat Earth, like into the community, him and I would sit up like all hours of the night and chit-chat on different chat channels. I think I met him on, what's his name? Poncho Pete.
Oh, God.
Remember Poncho Pete?
Yeah, Poncho Pete started telling everybody that I'm a man.
Is that right?
Yeah.
This is back in the day when he was still cool.
Yeah, he went full retard, unfortunately.
Hey, Frank Logic. Good to see you, brother. Michelle L. CD.
Any word says, is Jack high from fasting? Yep. Yes, he is.
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Because it does. I get that way, too, when I do fast. Yeah, it's like you become like hyper aware and then you just have all this energy and I can hardly sleep.
Hyper aware is a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to, this whole day of Yom HaKippurim is about, it says, oh my gosh, we might as well go there. Let's just go there. Let's go to Leviticus 23:24.
Okay.
Because this is kind of important. The King James Version translates it as afflict your being. And so there's this whole thing, and it's not just the King James Version. There are other people that translate it that way. But there's this whole thing where you're supposed to be miserable, but it's a Sabbath and it's called a pleasure. How do you have a pleasure Sabbath if it's miserable? It's logically unfound.
Right.
23:24.
23:24.
No.
23.
Chapter 23. Scroll down to 24.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. And let's see. It actually starts on verse 27. Because 23:24 is where the fall Moedim begin. So like the other day was Yom Teruah, the day of announcements, shouting, trumpet blasts, and today is Yom HaKippurim, verse 27. Now, change it to the HSBR where it says, afflict your beings. And then so move your mouse. Yeah, it's right there. Yep. So the Hebrew word to the left of that, it says, And we're going to click that number, 6301. And since you got the ancient Hebrew dictionary up, that's a good place to go. So what is the root of this word? Yes, affliction is there, but just look at the actual, definition here.
Watch. Eye.
Yep. The pictograph is
it's an eye and a seed.
Yep.
Or a spermy. It looks like a little spermy.
Exactly. So read that definition, if you will.
The pictograph is a picture of the eye, and the seed is a picture of a seed representing continuance. Combined, these mean eye of continuance. The nomadic agriculturist carefully watches over his livestock and crops by keeping a close eye on them. It was common to construct a shelter consisting of a roof on 4 posts as a shelter from the glare of the sun.
Okay, so this is intently watching.
Watching over something of importance. Right.
Okay, so if you look at, even when it says affliction, it says watching over something, it's eye of continuance. It's to fervently look at, to with purpose look at something, right? Mm-hmm. So like a watchman, right? Someone who would be up in the middle of the night to watch for enemies, he would be the only one working at night, the watchman. Okay, so go back to, excuse me, go back up to where it says afflict your souls. And it actually says, and I, EYE, to me and to them. And then it says in the next one, to me and to you. So, yeah, it's really hard to look at it as a third person without having complete control. Yeah, so right there in the middle, 4th row down. Yep, right there. So the letter on the right is a Vav, and then the next 2 letters are Ayin, which means I, and then the Kirik Yod means my, and then the Tav Mem means them. So, and intently look, me and them. So that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be intently looking on your soul and Jehovah.
Okay, there you go.
And soul is the life force. It's the essence of being, if you will. Not necessarily breath, because that gets confusing. But it's the essence of existing. Mm-hmm. If that's, clear as mud. But if you do enough fasting and praying, you'll understand the essence of living. You'll understand what it means to have the nefesh.
Yeah.
It's the hyper-aware self. How's that? Since you used hyper-aware, I'll use that too. That works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, stars to keep watch, not to sleep. Yep. And that's another thing is Sukkot, it talks about the Sukkot means the thickets. And when you intermingle the plants, you actually can see the stars through the roof. So, but yeah, this is all, people ask me, well, why don't I sleep during this 24-hour period? Well, it's like, if you read the context of it, it talks about basically it starts at the evening of the 9th day, and 9th is also the number for watches, because there's 9 watches, 9 different times, 9 shifts, if you will, for watching. So why would this be the only moed? Since people don't know, I got to give it prefix. This is the only moed, the only appointment that Yah says you start at the evening before. So it starts at the evening. If you're just sleeping through it, then what's the purpose? It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Why would you start at the evening if you're just going to sleep? And I think this is because, you have the night watchman type of perspective. So you're intently looking throughout the night doing a self-inspection and comparing yourself to the Creator. And when you do that, like, I just say try it for yourself. It's it's amazing. I mean, I can't explain it to anyone. They have to try it. And by the way, I just looked at the YouTube stream, and oh my gosh, this has to be distracting to everybody with this dangling earmuff. Oh my gosh, that looks so bad. But anyway, sorry guys. But I'll be I'm gonna try to repair these. If I can't repair them, I'm gonna end up buying another, set of headphones. But yeah. And I've been super busy, y'all. Like, I'm preparing for these Moedim, and I'm translating scripture. And praise Yah, I've gotten a employer who gives me remote work, and he fronted me my first paycheck. That was awesome, because obviously I've been struggling since I hadn't been working since January. Mm-hmm. So we're almost caught back up. Praise Yah, we're almost there.
That's amazing.
Just in time for the Moedim.
That's cool.
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah, excuse me for rubbing my eyes also. I have no tears. So.
All right. Well, I guess we can wrap that up then, and thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Jack. Links for everything is in the description. Jack's Patreon, email, keep it flat.
Earth's still flat, yep.
All right. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Shalom, y'all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, and have...
Double Shabbat shalom, by the way.
Double Shabbat shalom. Have a great weekend.